Okay, check, check. Can you hear me? All right, so your microphone. Okay, so this microphone, you're going to want to put it within like kissing distance of your mouth, pretty close. And try to talk again.
Check, check.
All right, there you go. So you can hear yourself in your ears?
Yep.
Okay, good. So over on this side, this is your squelch button. You probably won't need it, but that controls how sensitive your microphone is when it kicks on and kicks off. This outside knob is your comm. So if I'm too loud, you can turn that down or turn it back up. Or you can just use your ears, your headphone volume. So, the Stratus is a piece of equipment that's down inside here. I'm making sure that we're connected to the internet. Basically, all the airplanes flying have their own internet system called ADSB, and they transmit information from airplane to airplane into ground stations, and that's how we know where we are. It's just one of the systems that augments GPS. So this is actually a nav chart. We're not popping up yet, but that's the airport that we're at right now. So same thing over here. I don't typically use that iPad when I'm flying, but it's good for situational awareness. When we start to see airplanes on the scope, I'll show you how to read it so that you can point out airplanes and stuff. You're not just going to be a passenger, so if there's airplanes or air traffic calls something for us, we're going to look outside, try to find it.
North over the shores, looking for close traffic with information, Delta.
Okay, so I just updated the GPS last night, so it's effective until 23rd of March.
307 Norman Tower, good morning, what's your position?
This is telling me that my CDI should be half left, and it is based on the arrow, so if you were to imagine that arrow straight ahead, that deviation is half left, and that's all correct.
North of your position.
So now the GPS is loading.
307, Roger, follow the shoreline southbound for a 3-mile final straight in runway 27.
That's the tower here that they're talking on. I'm going to get rid of that. 121.625 is the ground frequency. So each airport has different frequencies for different stuff. So the ATIS is the weather. We'll get that in a second. They have a clearance, a tower, and an approach. So we've got the ground in now, and then tower is 119. This is our weather frequency, so we're going to get the weather. All right, so flaps up, belts are on, flaps up, heat, vent, avionics is on. ATIS means we're going to get the weather now, so I'm going to just flip over to a scratch pad. And so every hour, the airport will update its weather so the pilots can listen to it and they know what the weather is ahead of time. So I'm going to go to COM 2.
Information Delta, 1250 Zulu observation. Wind visibility 5, mist, sky clear, temperature 2.18, altimeter 3004, runway 27 in use, expect visual approach.
Okay. Oh.
Hands in effect. Contact flight service for further information. Remarks, use caution for increased bird and wildlife activity on and in the vicinity of the Ormond Beach Airport. Voluntary noise abatement procedures are in effect. Aircraft are to remain clear of the Daytona Beach Class Charlie airspace until two-way communications have been established with Daytona Beach approach control. Advise the controller on initial contact you have information Delta.
We have Delta.
This is continuous information broadcast from Ormond Beach on March.
So when they broadcast the weather and they update it, they assign a letter to it. This airport has like A through, let's say A through M, and Daytona may have N through Z. So that when they're on a particular weather, Daytona's not on the same weather. So that when you're calling in, you verify, you're telling them, hey, I have Delta, you're saying I have this airport's weather. When we were coming in, if we were like, we have Charlie, they might say, you don't have the updated weather, or that's the weather for a different airport. All right, so we got the ATIS. Altimeters are set 3004, 3004. I have two altimeters. So this airport elevation is about 30. Airport elevation's 28 feet MSL, so we're just over that. So our altimeters are reading correctly. And then transponder squawking 1200. 1200 means we are VFR, Visual Flight Rules Traffic. And then ADSB is on. Radio test, we just listened. And taxi lights we don't need right now. Attitude indicator, we'll check this all on the way to the runway. So since we are going to be going out to runway 27, we're parked back here. So they're going to give us Charlie Alpha to 27, so I'm going to anticipate that. And so we'll call ground and I'll get permission to taxi. Arm and ground, good morning, Skyhawk 737 Kilo Echo at the Sunrise T Hangars information Delta, ready to taxi, depart to the northeast.
737 Kilo Echo, arm and ground, you're at the east tees?
Negative, Sunrise T is the old set, and I'm going to depart to the northwest, sorry about that.
7 Kilo Echo, roger, taxi to runway 27 via Charlie Alpha.
Charlie Alpha to runway 27, 737 Kilo Echo. So that's our tail number. So I'm going to give it a little gas, and I'm pump the brakes, make sure the brakes work. And I'm steering with my feet. So the bottom of the rudder pedals works the rudder all the way in the back. The top of the rudder pedals works the brakes, and the brakes are independent. So you can touch, so I can touch just the right brake, and the airplane drags right, or I can touch it left. And this airplane has what's called nose wheel steering, where there's a linkage down there that connects with our pedals. But that steering isn't good enough to like turn around, you know, like a quick 180. So you have to tap the brakes in order to get the airplane to really turn. So this mark in front of us is called a hold short line. It's got dashed lines, and then it's got the bar solid ones. If you're on the side of the solid ones, you have to stop and have permission to go past it. If you're on the one with the dotted line, you don't have to have permission to come the other way. So since we're end of runway, I'm going to flip over to the tower. All right, so brakes, I'm holding the brakes. Fuel, our fuel is on both tanks down here at the bottom. Takeoff trim is set for takeoff. There's a little notch right there. Flight controls. So this is where we're going to check everything and make sure you're clear and I'm clear. And if you end up needing more space, then you can always slide your seat back and slide it forward later. So, so I'm going to roll all the way to the right, and I'm checking, make sure the ailerons on the wings are flipping the way they're supposed to. Tail is good. No binding. Everything's good. Kick the rudders back and forth. Everything's free and correct. Were you out of the way enough? Were you good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So flight controls are checked. So instruments 3004, 3004. We're going to be on runway 27, so I'm going to flip this over to 27. This is called our directional gyro, or CDI. So that's the runway direction that we're going to be on. Airspeed is 0, 0. This is how fast up or down we're going. That's at 0. Instruments are all good to go. Engine temperature is up into the green. Oil pressure is into the green. Fuel flow and everything is good, so we're good to do our run-up. So now we're going to do mixture best power. So we're at sea level, so we push that all the way in. Make sure the primer is in and locked, which it is over here on the left.
307, Roger, you can proceed on course.
And then we're going to run up to 1700 RPM. So we add power. So 1700 RPM, about. It's going to flip back and forth, okay? We make sure oil pressure, oil temperature and stuff's good. Carb heat's fine. Fuel flow is good. We have good volts, and we're charging. We have amps, so we're good. So now I'm going to flip over. This switch has 4 positions here. I'm going to flip over, and we're going to check our right magnetos. And we're going to make sure all 4 cylinders are still making good power. The RPM should have dropped about 100, which it did. And everything is still in the green. So we go back to both. It should recover back to about 1700. Everything's still making good power. All of our indications are good. Now we check the left magneto. We do the same thing. If it goes down about 100, we're still making good power everywhere. Everything looks good. This drop needs to be within 50 RPMs of one another, which they are. They're within 10, so it's tuned up nice. And then we go back to both. So the engine's running good. Carb heat is at 13 degrees Celsius. So we have a carb heater. I'm going to pull that out, and we're going to make sure that that goes up, and it does. So push the carb heat back in. And then so everything is good, everything's charging. Last thing we do is we pull the throttle all the way out as hard as we can. I'm not trying to rip it out, but until it stops, we make sure the airplane idles fine. And then we check the throttle friction check right here, and then I bring it back up to 1,000. Okay. So now I double check. So I did the primer, 1700, did a mag check, carb heat, we checked vacuum. This airplane doesn't have a vacuum system. Amps and volts are both good. Oil pressure is good, oil temperature is good, idle check was good, and the throttle friction was good. So now we're going to do a pre-takeoff. So we do a pre-takeoff briefing. So we've got about 4,000 feet of runway. So we're going to plan on a normal takeoff. So we're going to roll out. We're going to get on the center line. I'm going to push the full throttle. We're looking for 2290 static RPM in order to take off. So we'll be 2340 or something. At 55 knots, we're going to rotate, meaning I'm just going to pull back easy. The airplane's going to fly off the ground. So we're going to climb out at a speed called VY, which is 73 knots, and we're going to fly 73 knots till we get to 1,000 feet. If we have a problem between 0 and 1,000 feet, and the engine shuts off or we have an issue, we're going to land straight ahead. So if we have runway remaining, that means we're just going to set it back down. If we don't, there's fields out here on the west part, so we would just pull the power out, drop the flaps, and land in the field. If we're above 1,000 feet, we have an engine problem. We have a little bit of time. We have something that we will double back based on the above 1,000 feet. We're going to loop back and land on a crossing runway. So flaps are going to be a 0. Mixture will be in for best power. Lights need to be on. Transponder squawking 1200. So lights, camera will be ready for action. Let's call the tower and tell them we're ready to go. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Orbit Tower, good morning. Skyhawk 737, Kilo Echo, holding short runway 27 and Alpha ready for departure.
Cessna 737, Kilo Echo, Orbit Tower, good morning. Runway 27, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 27, clear for takeoff. 737, Kilo Echo.
Cessna 7 Kilo Echo, just be aware that looks like a scud layer moving in from the west here. The visibility starting to drop a little bit.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, I'd like an early turnout to the northwest, 737 Kilo Echo.
Cessna 7 Kilo Echo, roger. Approved as requested.
Yeah, request, appreciate that, 7 Kilo Echo. Okay, so we have runway 27 in front of us. Doors locked, windows, everything looks good. Mixture's full rich. Fuel is on both. Takeoff trim is set. Lights are all set. We have runway 27 on the ground. We have 27 on our DG. We have 27 on our compass. My heels are on the floor. Keep your feet back away from everything. And we're going to go full power. A little bit of right rudder. Looking for 2290. We got it. Airspeed is coming alive.
Jenny 07 ready for takeoff, runway 27.
Jenny 807, Orbit Tower, runway 27, cleared for takeoff.
55.
The advisory on that reduced visibility to scud layer moving in.
Rotate.
So Jenny 07 cleared for takeoff, runway 27. If it does drop down too much, we'll go.
Okay. Orbit Tower, 737 Kilo Echo. There was no avoiding that scud layer on the way through, 737 Kilo Echo.
7 Kilo Echo, roger. And what are your intentions?
I'm above it now, and I'm going to depart VFR to the northwest. Just want to let the airplane know behind us.
7 Kilo Echo, roger. Before you go, you get traffic just ahead to your left, about 11 o'clock and a mile. Northbound VFR at 2000 indicated.
Okay, I'm looking for that traffic, 11 o'clock, 737 Kilo Echo.
And that should be a Skyhawk. Number 7 Kilo Echo, the tops were what?
Tops were 350, 737 Kilo Echo.
All right, thanks. And frequency change approved, we'll see you.
Frequency change approved, stand away back, 737 Kilo Echo. All right, so we have to stay.
And JDC 807, you copy the tops report?
Yeah, so it's a very thin layer of clouds. Like I can still see the ground, but it's a very thin layer. Like it starts 300 and stops 350, something like that.
Okay, what are your intentions?
JDC 807, sir. We'd like to go northbound, JDC 807, northeastbound.
JDC 807, roger, got a couple Cessnas off to your right. One's about 2 o'clock on a mile, northbound at 2000, and the aircraft that just departed ahead of you is just coming up on destination Daytona. He's still at 1000 turning northbound.
Yeah, we have both inside, JD 3807.
3807, roger. Proceed on course on the frequency change, approved.